The karma of betraying Libra, the universe's justice always arrives. There's a long-standing idea about Libra, that this sign is too kind, too patient, too tolerant. That if you hurt a Libra, they'll swallow it. They'll process it silently, seek balance, and end up forgiving. Because that's how Libra works, everyone knows. This idea is so widespread, so often repeated, that it's become almost a fact. And that's exactly where the most costly mistake someone can make in life lies. Because Libra doesn't work that way. It never has. What Libra does, and does better than any other sign, is observe. It weighs things up. It holds on for a seemingly merciful time to every detail of what happened. It doesn't react immediately because it doesn't need to. Libra knows, in a way that's inscribed in its deepest nature, that things settle down, that the universe has its own rhythm, that the scales, when disturbed, always find their equilibrium. And the problem with those who betray Libra is that this belief seems naive, but it isn't. It's cosmological patience. Think about it. Do you know anyone who never seems to lose control after a betrayal? Who absorbs it, processes it, and stays standing? Who doesn't make a scene, doesn't explode, doesn't pursue? Most people look at that and think, that person is weak. That person will accept anything. But what you're seeing isn't weakness. It's Libra filing it away. And this file is never lost. When someone betrays a Libra, and here the word betray isn't just about romance, it's about any form of breach of trust, disloyalty, ingratitude, that person thinks they're getting away with it. Because Libra doesn't yell, doesn't blackmail, doesn't send late-night messages demanding payment. Libra looks at you, sometimes even smiles, and goes on with their life. And you breathe a sigh of relief, thinking it's over. But the scales are already tipping. This is what no one understands about Libra's silence. That silence isn't forgetfulness. It isn't acceptance. It's an ongoing process happening on a level you can't see. Libra is, at that moment, doing exactly what the scales do, putting everything on its plate. Every word you said and didn't keep, every promise that vanished into thin air, every time it stood by your side, you chose a different direction. Every gesture that seemed small, but that it registered with the precision of someone who never truly forgets anything. And while it weighs on you, you think you've won. There's something that happens to Libra after a betrayal that's hard to name. But anyone who's been close to a wounded Libra recognizes it immediately. It's a subtle change, a different temperature. Libra doesn't stop being pleasant, but something inside them silently reorganizes itself, like a file that closes one folder and opens another. And the folder that closes never opens again with the same content. Not for that person, not after that. But there's a part of this story that almost no one tells. And it's the most important part, because Libra's internal transformation after betrayal isn't just emotional, it's energetic. It's as if she carries a kind of signal that the universe recognizes, and which, once disturbed, needs to be restored. But how does this work in practice? How does this energy that Libra carries transform into real movement in the world around it? It was while searching for answers to this that I found this digital book, The Divine Path That Guides Your Zodiac Sign to a Life of Purpose. Doesn't talk about karma as an abstract or punitive force. It talks about the energetic pattern that Libra naturally sustains, this ability to maintain cohesion around them, to be the point of balance that many people use without realizing it. And what happens when this balance is violated? The book helps Libra understand not only what they feel, but why they feel it, and how to transform this perception into real clarity about themselves, about their relationships, about what is worth holding on to and what it's time to let go of. You are in this moment right now, processing, recognizing something within yourself, perhaps still with that active discomfort of someone who has just seen a pattern that has existed for years and that had never been named as such. This is the right moment, not later, not when it passes, now, while it is still alive within you. The link is in the first pinned comment, but be aware this content may be taken down. Click now and download your copy. And before we continue, leave a comment below. Have you ever noticed that after distancing yourself from someone who betrayed you, that person's life began to change in ways you didn't expect? Tell us about it below. Libra functions in a very specific way as an energy regulator. It's not a pretty metaphor, it's a real pattern. Those who are close to a Libra tend to benefit from a kind of stability field that it generates without conscious effort. Things around Libra tend to become more organized, conversations flow better, conflicts dissolve faster, relationships last longer. Libra doesn't do this on purpose, it's simply how it exists in the world. And that's where the scary part comes in. When Libra removes this field from someone, not out of anger, not out of strategy, but simply because its internal balance has decided that that person no longer belongs to its sphere, what happens? What happens when the regulator stops regulating? Imagine a dam, not the monumental kind full of cement and engineering, an invisible dam made of presence, energy, and attention. As long as this dam exists, the water is contained. Things work. But when the dam is removed, without warning, without ceremony, simply taken away, the water finds its own path. And water without a dam doesn't choose where it goes, it simply flows. This is what begins to happen in the life of someone who has betrayed Libra. Not immediately, not dramatically, little by little. One thing here, another there. An opportunity that slips away. A relationship that sours for no apparent reason. A series of small misunderstandings that accumulate until the person looks around and realizes that something has changed, but can't name what it is. What changed was the dike. And here's something most people never consider when thinking about the karma of betraying Libra. It's not just what Libra failed to do for you, it's what you lose when you lose access to their perspective. Libra sees things that other signs don't, not because they have special powers, but because they spend their entire lives training their ability to see both sides of any situation, to understand what is implicit. They must notice what no one else has noticed. Those who have the privilege of being close to a trustworthy Libra have access to this type of reading, a perspective that functions like a map in unfamiliar territory. When you betray Libra, you lose the map, and then, without realizing it, you start making decisions with less information than you had before. You begin to enter situations without the sensitivity that Libra brought. You start making mistakes in ways that seemed impossible while she was around. Not because she was protecting you, but because her presence sharpened something in you that, alone, you can't maintain with the same clarity. The dike is not just containment, it's also vision. What has just been described is not abstract to you, Libra. You have probably already felt, perhaps without having words for it, that your presence stabilizes things around you, that when you step away, something changes in the environment. This is not a power you chose, it is part of your deepest nature. The divine path that guides your zodiac sign towards a life of purpose speaks to this, how Libra can learn to recognize this field they carry, protect it, and use it consciously instead of giving it away to those who don't deserve it. It's the difference between being everyone's bulwark and being the guardian of your own energy. The link is in the first pinned comment. Click now and begin your journey toward the clarity and genius you deserve. But one question lingers after all this. Does Libra know? Is she aware of what's happening when she's separated from someone? When that field of stability is removed? The answer is sometimes yes, sometimes no. And there lies another paradox of Libra. Libra doesn't consciously seek revenge. It's not the type of sign that plans, calculates, or waits for the right moment to act. What Libra does, and it seems like revenge but isn't, is simply to stop holding back. It stops holding on to harmony. It stops smoothing over rough edges. It stops translating the other person for the world. And when Libra stops doing that, the world reacts to the other person in a very different way than it was used to. What the person who betrayed Libra sees as bad luck or a bad coincidence is in fact a reflection of how they are perceived without Libra's filter, without the mediation, without the silent defense that Libra offered without anyone asking. It's like a sound frequency that the ear doesn't hear, but that was there, keeping the glass intact. When that frequency stops, the glass starts to crack. Not because someone broke it, because what was holding it together no longer exists. And there's a specific cruelty in this situation that needs to be clearly stated, because whoever betrayed Libra often doesn't even realize what they've lost. They leave thinking the relationship was ordinary, that it was replaceable, that what existed there was something that can be found anywhere. You only realize that's not the case when you start looking. You start to realize that not everyone listens the way Libra listened. Not everyone asks the right question at the right time. Not everyone can be present without intruding, close without oppressing, honest without hurting. And then a strange kind of longing appears, not for what was, but for what was possible when that person was around. But Libra, while all this is happening, isn't watching. It isn't following along. It isn't waiting. Libra has already gone, mentally, energetically, completely. Because there's a moment, a specific instant, when Libra decides. And that decision isn't announced. It isn't preceded by a final fight. There's no dramatic last conversation. It's a silent signature. Libra, at some point in the internal process, decides that it's done. Not that it's finished, that it's done. There's a huge difference between those two things. Finishing is emotional, it's noisy, it's full of residue. Being done is clean, it's almost surgical. It's the scales reaching their final point of equilibrium, not between the two people, but within Libra. And when Libra reaches that point, nothing that happens on the outside will change what has been decided on the inside. Imagine a judge who has just signed a sentence. He doesn't announce it to the courtroom. He doesn't raise his voice. He simply moves his pen, puts it on the paper, and goes on with his afternoon. The sentence exists. The process is over. What happens next is a consequence, not a decision. That's exactly how Libra is functioning right now. And for those on the other side, for those who betrayed, this silence seems normal. It seems like everything is fine. It seems like it's over. But what's over is only the deliberation phase. What comes next is the part no one sees coming. Because there's a subtle detail that changes everything after Libra signs that internal sentence. It not only ceases to hold the field of stability around the other person, but it also stops interceding. And Libra interceded more than anyone realized, behind the scenes, in indirect conversations, in the way it presented the other person to the world. When this intercession stops, the world begins to see the other person in an unmediated way. And what the world sees without Libra's filter isn't always what the person would like to show. That moment when Libra internally signs the sentence. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? Maybe you've been through it. Maybe you recognize something in this description that you've experienced, or something you're experiencing now from the side that was betrayed or from the side that betrayed. The divine path that guides your zodiac sign towards a life of purpose has a chapter on Libra's power of closure, not as an ability to isolate oneself, but as a spiritual intelligence to know when a cycle has fulfilled its purpose. Understanding this changes how you relate to yourself and the people around you. The link is in the first pinned comment. The last copies are running out. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. And then comes the final chapter of this story. What does the universe do with all of this? Karma is a word that has become a cliché. Everyone uses it. Karma will take its course. It will come back threefold, as if there were a celestial department processing requests for justice. It's not like that. Karma is geometry. It's the universe's tendency to seek balance, to compensate, to correct. Not because it has feelings about what happened, but because balance is the natural condition of any system. When you create an imbalance, the system seeks to correct itself. Always. This isn't mysticism, it's physics, it's mathematics, it's the oldest logic that exists. And Libra, because of who it is, because it carries the scales as its symbol, because it is ruled by the planet that governs harmony and relationships, because it is the sign that most intuitively understands balance, lives within this geometry in a way that no other sign does. Libra doesn't just perceive imbalance, Libra is its measure. So when someone creates an imbalance with Libra, when they betray, when they use, when they break what was sacred, the universe isn't being dramatic in its reaction. It's being mathematical. It's correcting an equation that went wrong. It's not revenge. It's resolution. But there's an aspect of this resolution that's important to understand. It doesn't happen at the same pace for everyone. There's no set deadline. There's no formula. The universe doesn't have an agenda. What it does have is patience and precision. And this combination, patience with precision, is what makes correction so inevitable. Because correction always finds the weak point. Always. Not necessarily the physical or financial weak point, but the real weak point, the one the person knows but won't admit. The place where the imbalance they created resonates most clearly within them. Sometimes correction comes as a loss, sometimes as an encounter that should have happened sooner, but the universe delayed until the person was ready to understand the weight of what they lost. Sometimes it comes as silence. A long, heavy silence, the kind that appears when you realize you no longer have anyone to count on in the way you used to. And there's a specific moment in this correction that is disturbingly human. The moment when the one who betrayed Libra finds themselves in a difficult situation and instinctively thinks about asking for help. Thinks about calling, thinks about texting, and then realizes they can't. Not because Libra will refuse, but because the connection that made it natural simply no longer exists. And this recognition, this moment of realizing that the door has closed in a way you didn't see coming, is often the most painful part of the whole story. Because Libra didn't close the door loudly. It closed slowly, silently, with the same elegance with which it does everything. And when you go to check, it's already been locked for longer than you imagine. The equation always finds its answer. It may take time, it may seem forgotten, but equations are never forgotten. They remain pending until the universe has all the elements to solve them. And when it resolves things, it's with the precision of someone who was never in a hurry, because the universe, like Libra, knows that balance always arrives, with or without haste, with or without drama, with the cold and beautiful accuracy of someone who simply does what they've always done, restore what was broken. That is the nature of Libra. And it is also the nature of the universe that created it. This geometry of the universe, this tendency to restore balance, is not something Libra has to learn to trust. It's something she senses in the structure of things. But knowing this doesn't mean it's easy. Knowing that the scales will correct themselves doesn't eliminate the pain of having been betrayed. It doesn't erase the weight of what was recorded. The divine path that guides your zodiac sign towards a life of purpose exists for this moment, when you understand the pattern, but still need real support to navigate it. To transform understanding into peace, into clarity about who you are and where your energy belongs. The link is in the first pinned comment. Click now and begin your journey towards the clarity and genius you deserve. Libra carries something that is difficult to name precisely, but that anyone who has ever been close to a true Libra recognizes when trying to describe it. A kind of quiet weight, a seriousness beneath the lightness, an ability to feel everything deeply and still keep moving. Betraying Libra isn't just betraying a person, it's disrupting a frequency. It's creating a fissure in something that was trying to stay whole. And the universe, which is at its core just the sum of all patterns seeking balance, doesn't ignore fissures. It closes them in the way it needs to at the right time. You, Libra, don't need to become tough to protect yourself. You don't need to pretend you don't feel. You don't need to build walls where there were windows. What you need, and what this video tried to show, is to trust the mechanism that already exists within you. Trust the balance. Trust your ability to weigh, to perceive, to decide. Trust that when you distance yourself from something that no longer belongs to you, you are not losing. You are freeing up space for what the universe has in store for a Libra who has finally stopped holding on to the wrong weight. The justice of the universe always arrives, and for Libra, it needs no intermediaries. It is embedded in the very nature of who you are, in the scales you carry, in the frequency you maintain, in the cold, silent clarity with which you, when the time comes, simply settle accounts.